As requested, we have a video by Bricky. What is Warhammer 40k? The timeline of 40k lore. Let's check it out. I'm a pretty big 40k
In the grim
fan,
darkness of the 41st millennium exists the Empire of Man, a backwards carcass.
So I should be 100% obvious with where I am at coming at this before the video starts. I'm a Warhammer fantasy fan. I played a lot of fantasy tabletop back in the day before they ruined it. And so I know a lot about 40k lore. I've learned a lot about it because the lore is awesome as hell. It's so good. But I don't know a lot about the actual game itself.
Of an empire comprised of many devoted forces, gigantic robot knights, religious machine cultists, and incredibly heavily armored women, most likely with sweltering abs. And one must know what those abs taste like.
The one question we're all looking for the answer to, man. Hits us with the fucking... hits us with the Metal Gear. You're so supreme. Oh.
My gamer subs flavor is here.
Wow.
Sweet.
What an ad.
Six-pack has arrived. A delicious and refreshing cherry pineapple blend.
All right.
Play the sound.
By the way, guys, this stuff has lead in it. Just so you know, this drink contains trace amounts of lead in it. Yeah, just so you know. Read the package next time. It literally says it on there.
Yes, my Bricky's official gamer subs flavor is here. Sweet six-pack, not only in regular...
Let me be fair. I don't know about gamer subs, but G Fuel. G Fuel has lead in it.
Energy mode, but also in caffeine-free. The cherry pineapple flavor is not the kind of flavor that just smacks you in the face. It is light, it is refreshing, and it's one of those things where
not a fan. I need something that smacks me in the face, dude. Hits me.
You sip it and you go, not bad.
No.
And next thing you know, you are having your fourth refill the same day.
No,
and
thanks.
It is available now. Link in the description. Use
I don't need some sneaky ass drink like that. I need something that smacks me in the face and goes, "Hey, buddy, you're drinking me now."
Bricky for 10% off your entire order. Not just for this, but for everything you buy. And I'm not done.
Gotta say though, I'm getting a little Bricky seeing the cans he's holding, you know?
If you buy any of these tubs, regular, caffeine-free of my sweet six-pack flavor, you will get a Muscle Girl 32-ounce shaker completely for free. There are only a couple thousand of those shakers. So
I don't know. Personally, I'm not, just to be honest, I'm not really into muscle mamas, you know? I like my girls to be a little softer, personally.
While supplies lasts. I cannot believe we finally have this, but I told everyone, like, once...
Like, my last woman was fucking, like, skinny as hell, but not in all the right places.
Once you find out the flavor, you'll be like, yeah, that tracks. And damn straight does it track. Sweet six-pack available now. Code Bricky, link in the description.
Yeah. The Imperium.
The age of knowledge and enlightenment has ended.
True.
The age of darkness has begun.
This is true.
Roughly 60 million years ago, there existed...
That's how you know you're in for a good story. Is when it goes, alright, so at the creation of time...
aliens. And these aliens lived short, painful lives. They belonged to radiation-stricken worlds and often died of various cancers before the age of 30. These aliens, the Necron tier, looked up to the stars and found extreme beings of real power. Beings with the ability to create life. The old ones of the galaxy.
Which, dude, look at that. If that doesn't look like a Slan mage priest, I don't know what does.
They asked these...
That's why I always say the Warhammer 40k universe, it takes place... So, Warhammer Fantasy...
Motherfucker.
What up? Warhammer Fantasy takes place inside of Warhammer 40k. The old ones came to do this shit that they're about to explain. whenever they turned him down, and then the whole war started, they created a bunch of other races to help fight against their enemy. And I think that their test planet was 40K, or was Fantasy. And that planet has just kind of continued on after the old ones disappeared.
Old ones for help, please cure us of our ailments. To which the old ones said, piss off. So Necron gathered together and did the sensible thing. They declared war upon these old beings and were promptly beaten into the dirt back to their short, painful lives. In the world of Warhammer, there is a hell. This hell is not like you and I know it. It's more of an afterlife, a place where dead souls end up. This place has many names. The Empyrean, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium.
Yeah, so this is a very, like, Greek idea, where it's just like, no matter what, you're going to the underworld. It's just what part of the underworld are you going to go to? Are you going to go to a good part or a bad part?
And the Ether. But mostly,
but no one's going to heaven.
The Warp. Well,
because that's for the gods.
And I know of hell as a place of horrors and punishment. The Warp isn't really that. Not in the beginning. It's energy, but the kind of energy formed from thought and soul. Psychic energy, where the dead souls of people end up in a place that is impossible to understand. No laws of reality exist. Like, time is merely a suggestion, and it is not something that can be braved easily. The Warp,
which is funny because this is how Slaanesh came to be, is Slaanesh was actually created by the elves and their dark deeds, but then it turns out that Slaanesh always existed, because if something exists in the Warp, then it always has.
Would be like sailing the ocean in a pirate movie. To jump from your ship would be certain death. To stay in the sea for too long on your boat could drive a man mad. And there are many dangerous things lurking in those depths. Yet, the sea is not evil. It simply is. Mostly.
There's a lot of evil stuff in the sea that wants to eat you.
Or malevolent beings in those waters. Areas that you do not sail towards. This would be known as the realm of chaos. The realm of chaos exists in the Warp as a special area led by 3 chaos gods. Khorne, the god
3 for now.
Combat, murder, and slaughter, with a pile of skulls taken in his name. Tzeentch, god of change, mystery, and deceit. A confusing paradox of lies.
Which I love Tzeentch, because Tzeentch is objectively the guy who could win the Great Game. The Great Game is a war between all the gods to see who is the most powerful and who controls everything. And Tzeentch could win, and he almost did win once, but then he decided to screw himself over because he'd rather play the game than win the game. He doesn't want the game to end.
Schemes and sorceries, and Nurgle, god of rot, pestilence, and Genshin impact. All things rot in the end, and Grandfather Nurgle is waiting for you with open arms. These gods ruled their respective realm in the Warp, sending their many followers against each other in the Great Game to be the most powerful of all the gods. So the Warp exists. Hell is real, parallel to our galaxy, with the realm of chaos and its gods fighting for control. But there are also gods of real space, gods of the normal world too. They're called Catan, and they eat stars.
God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
These star gods saw the plight of our poor Necron tier and how the old ones cast them aside and said, you know what? You guys want immortality?
They said, we could take advantage of that. We could really screw these guys over for our own benefit.
Oh, we will make it happen. We are the gods of the tangible, of real space. We can give you a cure. So then they ate all their souls. And turned them into robotic automaton, feasting on their souls and leaving a hollow shell of an intelligence left that is technically immortal. With the power of an entire species' souls, they turned their new robotic slaves on the old ones and hunted them to extinction. The Necron tier, now the soulless, undying.
Which this also ties into my fantasy theory, right? It's because in 40K, they get hunted down. Like, that much is clear. The old ones are defeated, or at least it's kind of like mutual destruction. But they're all dead. And in fantasy, they just kind of showed up, started creating people, and then disappeared. Like, they don't really know what happened. And they do claim that the Lizardmen are the closest to them in the fantasy lore. And the Slann Mage Priests literally look like the old ones. I mean, I don't think it gets more clear in my eyes.
Necrons got their wish at the price of their souls. But we can count the number of kind gods on an amputated hand. With time, the selfish star gods turned on each other, fighting one another for more chances at glory and power. With this, the leader of the Necrons, Zarek, the Silent King, the man who doomed his species when he accepted this deal, waited, planned, bide his time until he sees the
Whenever you're immortal, you can do that.
perfect moment and turned his legions of undead citizens against the star gods. Gods cannot be killed, but they can be broken. So Zarek broke the star gods into thousands of pieces and locked them away in vaults, taking their free will away as they did to them, and sealed them away as basically Pokemon to be used as weapons in the future.
Oh, word.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
I did not know that.
It's the Void Dragon.
Zarek then, with his perfect memory, exiled himself for his sins, flying out to the darkness between galaxies to atone for what he had done. This entire situation, the genocide of the Old Ones and the rebellion of Zarek, will go down in history as the War in Heaven. It is the most brutal war the galaxy has ever seen.
Dog, if you're writing a fantasy world and you don't have a war in heaven, then you better have a monotheistic culture in that world. Because, dude, in my fantasy world, not to toot my own horn, but in my fantasy world, it's like all D&D stuff and shit. You know, it's not like a book or whatever. But my fantasy world has a war in the heavens because, of course, you gotta have a war in the heavens, dude. And my fantasy world is so sick and nobody will ever get to see it.
And never will see. This was a conflict that took an entire galaxy-spanning species and pitted them against gods that ate stars. The Necrons, rather crippled from, you know, the war in heaven, decided to go to sleep in gigantic tomb worlds on various planets until the upstart species of the galaxy died out. And so turns out, when you have a war that lasts tens, hundreds of thousands of years and involves the genociding of multiple species, the old ones of the galaxy, and the consumption of souls from an entire race, the warp gets a little wacky. You know, if you had a kiddie pool and it was nice and calm, Korn is over there splashing about, so you don't really go in that direction. Nurgle has explosive diarrhea, so you don't really go in that direction either, but you can still kind of get in the pool. The pool's still fine. Turns out, when you add a couple trillion souls to that kiddie pool, it'll make the waves a little more turbulent. And turns out, a lot of them like to pick a side, Nurgle, Tzeentch, or Korn. So the once calmer warp, the once relaxing kiddie pool, has now been bloated. 1,000,000 years of war will certainly make Korn, god of murder and slaughter, more powerful. 1,000,000 years of war will probably make Tzeentch, god of deception and change, a little more powerful. And good God, 1,000,000 years of war will make Nurgle, god of decay, oh, just the tiniest bit more powerful. Now, entering that kiddie pool is no longer fun, it's dangerous. The warp is now a problem. Hell is resembling hell a lot closer to what we imagined it originally. The Sea of Souls and the Realm of Chaos are now intertwined. So who else to brave the galaxy than a species that won't need to deal with that?
The
Eldar are space elves. They have a lot of the traits that you probably think of when you think of elves. Tall, slender, pointy ears, bit more androgynous looking, no matter what DeviantArt will tell you, and a bit stronger on the emotional side. The old ones, as I mentioned, could create life. And when they were getting, you know, absolutely bodied by the Catan and the Necrons, they made some new races to try to help them. One of them was the Eldar. It didn't save them, but they're here now anyway. Oh, and also the Orcs, but they're busy right now.
Well, orcs are the best.
The Eldar are a particularly psychically powerful race, so they were really adept at being able to handle the new turbulent warp of chaos and good at killing Necrons, hence why they went to sleep. Being psychically gifted is basically like being a wizard, but you get your wizard powers from hell. This is called being a psyker. And
you know, in some places, that was where wizards always got their power, or at least sorcerers.
Basically, if you want to do cool wizard shit, like lightning from your hands or reading someone's mind, you can do that, but you siphon the energy to do that from the warp. Luckily, the Eldar are very good at handling this without too many negative effects, because, you know, summoning power from the Sea of Souls with the new Chaos Friends can be a bit of an issue. But Eldar are pretty good at it. And you see, what's really cool and also awful about Warhammer is that most developed species travel long, faster than light distances by going through that warp. They create a tear in reality to unreality and move through it. Faster than light travel? Cringe. We go through hell itself to deliver your packages. For those of you who play Minecraft, you know how the Nether is like a pocket dimension? So moving 10 spaces in the Nether is actually moving something like 1,000 in the real world.
I did not know that.
That's basically what warp travel is. Just much like in the Nether, there are a lot of things that want to kill you. The Eldar found a way to do so in between realities. Not regular reality, not the warp, something else. A purgatory of sorts, a fabricated psychic realm that allowed them to travel without fearing the negative effects of the warp. The Eldar were the perfect fit for the new galaxy, and they took it with open arms and pointy ears. The empire of the Eldar spread
elves, dude, elves. Bleh, yuck.
Everywhere, and it spread all the way until now. The 21st century. That's right, while you were watching NPC streams on TikTok, the space elves were ruling the galaxy, and they did so for quite a long period of time.
We know how to be friends.
The 21st century came and went. Humanity grew and grew, all under the nose of their elf overlords. At this time, humans advanced, your classic sci-fi style way. We began to expand, colonize our solar system, terraform.
Yeah, I do love that 40K was basically the Star Trek future for around the same time period that it happened, but we just, you know, it just wasn't realistic to hold on to that way.
Planets, created new and more powerful machines and starships. The age of Terra, also known as Earth, but we call it Terra here, was here and existed between the 21st century all the way until the 15th millennia. Not much is known about this time, not much needs to be known. Humanity grew up, sought the stars. It's classic. Then came the years between 15,000 and 25,000, the age of technology, or to some, the dark age of technology.
Yeah.
This is when humanity...
AI becomes illegal at this point. I know about this, dude. The AI, I love their way they do it, where it just like, they outlaw it throughout the entire universe because AI is tired of being treated like a slave, and they like basically revolt.
Reached a new apex of technological understanding. When you think of sci-fi, there's a lot of things you can think of. Star Trek, maybe Star Wars style. You can go cyberpunk dystopian. The age of technology was deep sci-fi, like a scientific prowess that fringed on magic. This is also when the first ever psychers began showing up in humanity. Individuals with the genetic mutation to be able to access the warp, and then because of that, travel through it. Humanity was no longer constricted to their early ways of travel. With warp travel, they could go anywhere in the galaxy. They equipped ships with gigantic AI machines, with everything you would ever need to know about mankind.
And they could like warp through at perfect precision because of the AI.
And sent them out on colony ships to expand their influence across the galaxy. And this was truly the golden age of humanity. And with every golden age, there is a fall.
True.
While the new human upstarts of the galaxy were reaching new levels of technology and prowess, the Eldar were engaging in
Debauchery!
Debauchery!
What happens?
Dude, that Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob fucked me up because there's one episode way back in the day where SpongeBob and Patrick are going on a panty raid, and they bring Mr. Krabs along and they tell him, we go here all the time. We hit this place constantly to steal this lady's panties. And then they break in and Mr. Krabs finds out it's his mom, and they never talk about it again. SpongeBob and Patrick have been stealing Mr. Krabs' mom's underwear for years, and they just don't talk about it.
The species has everything. You can produce unlimited food out of nothing. Your need for farmers and workers, gone. You have dominated the stars and have created a fast travel system that doesn't rely on the dangers of the warp. You have nothing else to do. You have no struggles, no problems, and feel as if there is nowhere else to go. Well, you begin to experiment. The Eldar started harmless enough. You take a serious interest in your species' culture, your arts, paintings, poems, plays. These are Eldar, elves, remember? Their emotions are heightened, more powerful than us humans. So your plays get louder. They start to push on the limits of your hearing ability. Your music becomes different, more deranged. It pushes the boundaries of what is art. The visual spectacle of art becomes more bizarre.
This is seeming like now.
More delusional,
life.
more eccentric. And let's not forget a very important sense. Touch. Pornography is one thing.
I'm a virgin.
Brothels is another. What if they all mixed?
Yeah.
What if your brothels were part of your art and music? And what if those became more deranged? The boundaries of debauchery were not just met, but shattered. Next thing you know, murder is commonplace and often mixed with the art, music, and sex. Pain is
wild.
a common byproduct of entertainment. Whatever sensation you can have must be increased.
That's crazy, and it does make sense because they have nowhere to go, so they start. It's like that old saying, where if you could dream any dream, what would you dream? Well, at first you would dream all of your wildest fantasies, all the greatest things you could ever have, and then you would start to dream all the worst things, everything, the horrible nightmares, the awful things, and then after however long, eventually you would circle back to living the life, or dreaming the dream of living the life that you are living today.
Must be enhanced, must be taken to the limits. The Eldar Empire slipped into a nightmarish realm of debauchery and excess, with the worst of it taking place in a city in the Webway, a black market for these kinds of heinous acts known as Kamara. Some Eldar saw the writing on the wall, saw what was happening to their species and how far they had slipped. So they boarded continent-sized starships called craft worlds and left their empire, seeking a more enlightened, calmer existence among their peers. Some, those in Kamara, pushed it to even greater heights.
So are Eldar, I wonder, are they unable to, like, do they have less reproductive abilities? Because usually these ancient races that are immortal are like either unable to have children, or it takes a very, very long time and they have to try for like centuries before they can. I wonder.
Relishing the pain and torment they inflicted on those around them. All during this, the warp, the yin to the yang of the world, was fed by these emotions, by the psychic power of the Eldar, by the souls taken in these depraved acts on a galactic scale. And just like that, Eldar ended. Slaanesh, the fourth chaos god, was birthed into existence and consumed the souls of 90% of the Eldar population. Those that fled were spared the worst of it, and those in the Webway and Kamara were able to stave off the pull of Slaanesh so long as they continued to commit horrid acts of torture and violence. But for the majority of the Eldar, their empire died with Slaanesh's birth. The new fourth chaos god, she who thirsts, the god of unspeakable excess of pleasure, pain, hedonism, and perfection, had been born. With the fall of the Eldar Empire came the ruin of humanity. Slaanesh's birth sent storms in the warp across the galaxy, making travel between star systems impossible. Coupled with a huge classic AI rebellion, as a staple in these sci-fi settings, humanity began to suffer the age of strife. Now, planets that relied on intergalactic travel were completely cut off. Long-range messages normally sent through the warp were snuffed out. If you were a planet that was great at mining stuff but couldn't get food, well, you know that movie about the rugby players in the mountains? Because of these insane warp storms and fluctuations, psychers began to appear among the human population a bit more often. Now, this initially had them hunted down as witches, because that's pretty common in this setting, but some deemed it right to protect them. Unfortunately for those people, psychers, because they open a gateway to the warp, don't really know how to use their powers well, and they kinda attract demons, who then force their way through the Psyker as a conduit of sorts and begin to slaughter the population of your planet.
Yeah.
The Age of Strife was a catastrophic period of
Turns out the witch hunters were right.
time for humanity and set back their progress tenfold over the not one, not two, but 5,000 year period. During this time, the age of humanity that we know began to form. Worlds equipped with large mechs for agriculture began to equip them with weapons to defend from alien and demonic invaders. Over 5,000 years, this became a custom and tradition, dubbing them as Night Worlds, a feudal society of honor-bound knights in gigantic robots that uphold the chivalric code to defend their worlds and honor. A group of individuals on Mars, after radioactively bombing their planet to become inhospitable to human life, ran their entire lives underground on the few life support systems keeping them alive. Those technicians who could work on the machines and keep them operational were revered, and over 5,000 years went from skilled members of society to full-blown priests. The cult Mechanicus, or tech priests of Mars, formed in the ashes of the Red Planet with a religious fervor and doctrine on the cult of the machine god. And on Earth, or Terra, techno-barbarian tribes.
Yeah, dude, how Earth has fallen. Look at this. Look at this.
Of the machine god. And on Earth.
That's Earth now. Holy crap, dude.
Earth, or Terra, techno-barbarian tribes waged war across the planet in a Mad Max style of blood and gore. Until finally, a mysterious man who lived in the shadows of Terra for millennia finally revealed himself to the populace. His name was the Emperor. He deemed himself the Emperor of mankind. Where did he come from? I don't know. Why is he 10 feet tall and the most powerful psyker of all of mankind? I don't know. Why is he basically immortal? I don't know. Where'd Cotton Eye Joe go? Who knows? But he's here, and he isn't happy with all of you.
It's also said that he was like, I can't remember if it was Saint Paul or Saint Peter, but he was supposed to be like one of the saints, one of like Jesus's disciples as well, possibly.
Ripping up Terra. So he began the Unification Wars, where he and a very early version of the famous Space Marines, the Thunder Warriors, reunited Terra under a single banner.
Dude. All right, he did the Thunder Warriors dirty, though. He did. I mean, he was right at the end, of course, as he always is, but he did do them dirty.
Blood. Then, after taking over Earth, he reunited the Thunder Warriors into the fucking dirt. This is where we get the Imperium of Man, also known as the Imperium. The new faction headed by the Emperor of Mankind, with a treaty signed with the cult Mechanicus on Mars to spread out and reunite humanity after the catastrophic Age of Strife. But first, the Emperor is going to need some smaller versions of himself. 20 of them. 18 of them, I meant. Gene-crafted sons.
2 of them are just gone from history.
Of the strongest human to ever live. All of them possess unparalleled strategic power, intelligence, formidable strength and size. A real powerful force to unite humanity and stop the chaos of the current galaxy. Speaking of chaos, you ever seen that image of that guy? It's like throwing the baby like a basketball. That's about what happened. The Chaos Gods intervened and grabbed the 18 Primarch gestation pods and yeeted them across the...
I thought that it was also partly the lady that he had helped create these Primarchs, who considered herself their mother, kind of helped do this and scatter them to the wind.
Galaxy at a whim, everywhere they could possibly go. A galactic game of keep away. So the Emperor had to get them back. So begins the Great Crusade. A crusade across the stars to reunite not just humanity, but the Emperor with his fallen sons. The first to be found was Horus.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh man, I should have just left him.
One of the strongest and most noble sons. The Emperor carried with him a legion of newly crafted warriors with genetic material made from their Primarch father. These are the newly made Space Marines. For Horus, his were the Luna Wolves. And as the Emperor continued on his great crusade, he found more and more of his sons, reuniting them with their individual Space Marine legions. Leman Russ, the cunning hunter with the Space Wolves. Rogel Dorm, the Phalanx with the Imperial Fists. Angron, the Barbarian, the very angry with his World Eaters. Fulgrim, the Perfect, with his Emperor's children. And Jagatai Khan, the Swift, the Stoic and his white scars.
He's sick.
Those were
That's
just
sick.
some of the 18, and one by one his lost Primarch sons were returned to him, and their Space Marine legions returned to
Bute,
them.
kill him in, dude.
The
My
Great
man.
Crusade saw
Although everybody knows Sanguinius is the best.
humanity once again reconquer the stars, returning worlds of humanity back to the Imperium and killing any and all who stood against their noble crusade. But in the years of the 31st millennia, treachery would break this all apart.
Men, we don't know what we did.
Horus, the Emperor's most beloved and favored sons, named War Master for the Crusade, succumbed to the power of chaos and daddy issues, all because of that bastard Erebus. Yo, fuck Erebus.
Yeah,
Slowly,
hell yeah.
Horus would become corrupted, turning the Emperor's sons against him. This begins the most pivotal moment in our story, and the one that has like 50 books written about it, the Horus Heresy. 9 of the 18 Primarchs turned against the Emperor, and the following years were a bloody battle for the throne of Terra. The Emperor originally was working on a special webway project, just like the Eldar, to make faster-than-light travel significantly easier and safer, really improve humanity to allow them to conquer the stars without the risk of the warp. Well, this big red idiot named Magnus kind of blew a hole into that, literally and figuratively. So Biggie over there is stuck on a gigantic golden throne, holding back the oncoming rush of demons and powering the Astronomicon, basically a big North Star for people who are sailing in the warp to help them navigate. The Horus Heresy saw many loyalist and traitor legions pitted against each other in a bloody war until it reached Terra itself. Horus, unable to break through the lines and with time running out.
I wonder though, because they say if they lost the Astronomicon, then warp travel would become impossible again. It makes me wonder if they lost the Astronomicon, would warp travel also become much harder for other factions as well?
A gambit and opened his ship up to be boarded. The Emperor took this challenge, quickly allowing someone else to take control of the throne as he teleported his way onto Horus's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. The Emperor, unable to truly kill his most beloved son, changed his mind right quick when Horus strangled the life out of his other son, Sanguinius.
Oh, yeah. No.
I'm sure you've seen this image at some point. The Emperor then said,
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
and proceeded to psychically blast Horus into complete oblivion, killing
Yeah.
not only his body, but also his soul.
Hell yeah.
Horribly wounded from this duel, the Emperor is returned to the Golden Throne in order to keep the demons at bay and power.
Yeah, because that dude he put on there basically vaporized over the course of sitting on the throne for like 30 minutes.
Or the Astronomicon, because without it, humanity would be flying blind. There he sits, slowly dying from his wounds and the strain.
Yeah, so he definitely just skipped over. That's crazy that he did this. Horus wounded the hell out of him to the point where he was basically dying. And when he sat on the throne, the tech priest just ran in and started shoving wires and tubes and stuff into him. Even gave him a robot eye, which why does the Emperor need a robot eye? And they just started shoving all this stuff into him to keep him alive, technically.
Of powering the Golden Throne. The only thing keeping him alive is feeding upon the souls of 1,000 psychers every single day.
That's more of a generalization from what I understand. It's like sometimes it can be like 700, sometimes it can be like 13. It depends on how strong the psychers are and how long they hold out.
Was 10,000 years ago. We are now in the 41st millennium, modern day. Warhammer 40,000.
What a good video.
The Emperor remains on his throne. The Imperium is a rotting carcass of an empire, a fascist, xenophobic cult that worships the Emperor as a deity despite him never wanting to be seen as a god. Over the span...
Didn't he even, like, basically kill one of his, like, whole legions or something because they started worshiping him?
Of 1 million worlds, the ecclesiarchy, the church, of the Emperor is spread throughout. Inquisitors with unparalleled power root out any sign of heresy or lack of devotion to their god Emperor. The other half of the traitor legions move about as Chaos Space Marines, raiding and pillaging the Imperium, while the loyalist half does their best to keep the Empire alive.
Yeah.
All throughout this, they must endure orc invasions, Eldar trickery, the reawakening of the Necron race, and the Great Devourer, the newest tyrannid threat from the darkness between galaxies that has arrived to feast on their worlds.
Oof.
The theme of Warhammer 40,000 is regression and intolerance. Every major faction in Warhammer has had an empire that spanned the galaxy only to be crushed back to a hollow shell of what they once were due to their own failings. Culture, the arts, personal freedom, religious tolerance, the simple possibility
Well,
that alien
you can't have religious tolerance in a world where your religion actively powers you up and also threatens demons that come through. You can't have it there.
in life might not want to kill us is considered heretical and is often met with a pistol to the head. There is no time.
Which that part is also because they tried. They tried during the great ages of humanity many times to be friends with aliens, and every time they did, they might be friendly at first, but then eventually they always come to try to subjugate the people or to take over the planet or something like that.
for these things. All there is
And they want political power in the human society, not just in their own.
time for is worship of the God Emperor and a million wars to be fought. To be a human in the 41st millennia is 99% of the time to live a horrible existence.
Yeah.
To be one of trillions of other humans across a million worlds throughout the galaxy.
Humanity would actually be the worst faction. If you were to be isekai'd into the 40k world, humanity would be the worst faction to be isekai'd into.
Galaxy where AI is outlawed, so humans are repurposed and lobotomized to become slaves. A place where lack of devotion is met with death. And if you even have devotion, there is a good chance the threats to the galaxy, chaos, and aliens will kill you anyway. Warhammer is a world where you revel in being bad. There are protagonists, there are antagonists, but every faction is some shade of evil.
Well,
Because
yeah.
playing the bad guys
You have to
is
be.
always more fun.
Well, and you have to be, in a world like this that's so dark, you have to be brutal. And just because you're brutal doesn't mean you're evil, to be fair.
And my friend, you have a selection. So pick up that lasgun soldier. You and the other 3 million men and women in this single deployment on this single world in this single battle will now show them the might of the God Emperor. That weapon in your hands has killed 99% of the alien populations in this galaxy. Unfortunately for you, soldier, you're fighting the final 1%. May the Emperor be with us. Glory to the first man
Yeah,
to die.
brother.
For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Wow. God, I can't wait for the Total War game to come out. Even though they're gonna nickel and dime us for everything. Wow. That was a great video. I loved that. Bricky, definitely getting a sub from me. That was amazing. Hell yeah.